So good morning. Today is 15 August 2022, and we are commencing with in-person classes on each campus. I will be taking the time to commute to the St. Thomas campus at least once a month, hopefully twice a month, to conduct classes from the St. Thomas campus. And to meet with students so that we can make sure that everybody gets the full experience, right? I am Professor Timothy Kentop, and before I came to UVI to join the computer science faculty and to work cybersecurity, computer science, and tech courses, I was formerly in industry, in the technology industry, working cybersecurity and technology and elements of computer science and programming and coding. As a lead for campus, I was the person in charge of technology for a sister HBCU in South Carolina, where we supported roughly 1,000 constituents, mostly students, but then faculty and staff. I've also worked with the US federal government as a Krista McAuliffe Fellow. Back in the early 90s, I was one of a single teacher selected from each state to participate in a U.S. Department scholarship and fellowship, where I took a year off to work with the U.S. Department of Technology Education techniques. And before that, I worked nuclear weapons in the U.S. military, where I was trained in cybersecurity and in cryptography, but that was another life a long time ago, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, as the opening disclaimers would tell you. Let me check to make sure all my participants are joining us. I haven't missed anyone. So good morning, Aiden, Brandon, Elijah, Khalil, Ryan, and Michael. And then here locally, we have Aliyah. Michaela. Okay, Michaela and Aliyah. Wow, that's there's some rhyme to those two names. They kind of work together. All right, so Aliyah and Michaela, and they're here again on Albert A. Sheen. So this is a hybrid course, and hybrid means that we're meeting in person physically, but it also means that we're conducting the screens and sharing the screens between the classes and with students who are joining us remotely. We're also going to record each session so that ideally within a day or so, we can push the course recording out to the web into Blackboard, so that students that have life events, because life happens, right? I am sensitive to the fact that each of you have personal obligations and familial obligations, and that you may have a work site that you have to accommodate. And so the goal here is to allow you every modality humanly possible. Now, that's not true for every course at UVI, but it is for me. I think that if I am a technology professor and we're using the tools of our trade, people should be able to join by audio with their old school phone. They ought to be able to use a smartphone or a tablet. They ought to be able to use a laptop or a PC or even a game console, depending on what they're doing. We'll be talking about virtual reality and other hardware components. Computer architecture is basically about the hardware and the digital components that are the building blocks of every single hardware device and system that we use for our technology needs worldwide every single day. So if it's physical, then it's hardware, and there are digital components, it has to do with computer architecture. Good morning, Shande. Am I saying your name correctly? Hello, Shande.
Hello, yeah, you said my name correctly.
I am saying it correctly?
Yes.
Okay, Shande. Thank you for joining us. So I was just explaining about how our hybrid format works. We will have a whole class video camera. We will have a whole class video camera working and functioning in two classrooms, two physical classrooms, the one here in RT Park 129. Is anyone over on St. Thomas aware of the physical location for the classroom on St. Thomas?
Yeah, it's CA 112.
CAB 112. So it's a first floor classroom in the CA building, lower campus on St. Thomas. And that's going to be one of my first tasks when I get there. I am going to ask the St. Thomas contingent of students if anyone would be interested in serving as a physical proxy for me in CAB 112. And I'm going to ask students on the St. Croix campus to serve as a physical proxy for me once we have the whole class video cameras going, and we're not using old school video conferencing, but what we're doing is getting a whole class view in Zoom of all the students that are physically present. So if I'm over on St. Thomas in CAB 112, then I'll need a physical counterpart here to be my proxy, to turn on the screen, log in, and view the whole class. When that's not possible, the default or automatic go-to, in case the whole class camera and system is down, is for everyone to join with their own personal technology in Zoom, as we have, okay? So that's the default. The important thing to understand is that I'm going to change modalities rapidly on occasion based on the status of the system, right? I'm going to use my troubleshooting skills, but I'm also going to adapt, which means that I may send email as I did this morning with a link, right? So you'll get a flash email and I'll try to queue everybody in. Ideally, I'd also like to make use of my cell phone. So what I'd like is to promise each of you that if you share your cell phone number with me, I promise not to issue that to anybody else. But there are times when cell phone messages get through, or links on a cell phone message get through, and email is delayed. That's the nature of the beast. Some networks are delayed, or there's a gap. We call that latency, right? So there's some latency. And what I would propose to you is that I will promise not to share your personal cell phone number if you promise not to call my cell phone number after the hours of 10 p.m. on any day, because I'd like to stay married. And if you call me by voice, even if you're happy with the rum and everybody's liming and you just got a quick question, I may share your cell phone number personally with, I don't know, a surly bunch of loose-knit advocates that I know out on the open internet or dark web, just to make your life interesting after hours. So it's going to be a pact, and I'm just saying this, this is just humorous, and if anybody ever doubts whether or not I'm joking or not, or I'm dead serious, you'll notice that I try to cue everybody in on that. I may say, yeah, you think that's a joke, I'm dead serious. I am absolutely serious. So those are kinds of the things. The other thing I would share with you is that I'm very comfortable with any technology modality, but because of the gaps and the latency, there are miscommunications, or there are cases that I would describe as, oops, fall on your sword. I didn't know my mic was live while I was talking like this. Yeah. And here's the deal. Our course is founded upon mutual respect and mutual benefit. And to that end, I want to tell you that I was raised by parents from the Midwest. And I was taught, when in Rome, learn as the Romans do. And so when I arrived at the campus in August of 2016, I learned very quickly about hurricanes 11 months later because I experienced both Category 5 hurricane, Irma and Maria, but I've also picked up the language. Like, for example, the first semester, I learned the word kunumunu, which is kind of an interesting word. It's a very provocative word. I'd call it an attractive nuisance. And I was told by people from Down Island in St. Lucia that it all depended on the context, that the use of the word kunumunu could mean like dumb cow or doofus, but it could also mean something edgy like jackass. It all depended on the context, right? So I'm going to try to make this course and our sessions lively, interesting, dynamic, interactive, but the downside is sometimes I can overplay that hand. Sometimes I can make a comment or try to cut a joke about something that I see on screen because it's novel and interesting. And I confess, I may not understand everyone's sensibilities. I invite you always, and this is my promise to you, you are always welcome to text me, tap me on the shoulder, catch me on the sideline and say, hey, you know, you brought this thing up next time in class, I would prefer you handle it this way, right? Because I was raised to be plain talking, straight shooting, lay the cards on the table kind of stuff, right? And sometimes when you're plain talking, straight shooting, and laying the cards on the table, you unexpectedly step on toes. It is never my intent to frustrate or make anyone uncomfortable. But the trade-off is the class is less interesting if I simply present the material. The other thing I'd like to tell you is that I made a commitment when I came to the University of the Virgin Islands that this was my last change of career. I wanted to take 25 years of nuclear cybersecurity and high-tech certified systems engineering experience in industry, where I would fly into a site over a long holiday weekend and rebuild a data center from scratch. That's what I did before I came here. People would fly me in to rebuild a data center from scratch over a long holiday weekend. And yes, I am still a certified systems engineer with Microsoft, right? And what I told myself was that I need a change of pace, and I'd like to pay it forward, and I'd like to share those experiences. Now, the two of the greatest reservoirs of experience that I can draw from are 25 years of experience with digital hardware. And I'm going to get very animated, and I'm going to call out things in your book, and I'm going to say that stuff in the book is wrong. I mean, it's correct in terms of theory, but then when you get hands-on with it in the real world, this is more what you need to look at, right? So I'm gonna qualify some statements, and you will find that on occasion, the assessment items for our module assessments and our midterm and final exam, we'll talk about that more in a minute, those item assessments may or may not draw from the book. But I will also promise you that most of the stuff you're going to see in assessments, if it isn't already listed verbatim in your study guide, it's either in the book, or it's something I mentioned in class, or it's a link to an online video with a YouTube. It may not be verbatim in the study guide, but I was tortured when I was a student by professors who were God's gift to the world for their given subject matter. And they would have these tests, and I would come faithfully every day to class. And then I would see on the final exam a freaking question that had nothing to do with anything I studied. And I vowed that if I was ever in this place, I wouldn't be interested in payback. I would be interested in reconciling a thing and being different. Now, if you find that there's a question on my assessments or my exams, and it's not in the study guide, and it's not in the YouTube videos, and we didn't cover it in class, so it's not in the recordings, and it's something that came in out of the blue, if you are the first person to send me email and go, FYI, not sure we covered this in class, please advise, right? Now that's how I would urge you to proceed, right? If you're the first person that says, FYI, did we cover this in class? Please advise. That's a tactful, respectful way of telling me, you owe me lunch, or you owe me extra credit, or you owe me extra credit, because the first person that calls that out, it is also true that technology is changing all the time. And I may have a detail on a slide that was true last year, but now AMD processors are different this year. And video GPUs, graphics processors, right? They're different this year. Who's the champ right now? Is it Intel or is it AMD? These are things, oh, it's neither of them, right? It's a different kind of chip altogether. The point is that we're looking at a moving target and we're studying something that is always changing. If you find detail in my study guide that is out of date, it may be out of date by a week, a month, part of a year, right? But the main point is, I don't care. I want to know if it's out of date and it's no longer accurate. You will claim a healthy bonus, a bounty, for every case you call to my attention. You grab the screenshot, you email it to me, and you say, hey, your study guide says this. Here's what I'm finding all over the map. What gives, right? And it could be a simple case that I'm referencing an online resource that is inaccurate. I don't have time to scan everything, but that's the world we live in. Of all the things that are the most rabid, voracious, in terms of rapid development, hardware, computer hardware is legendary. By far, computer hardware advances much quicker than other computer sciences like programming and solution development. That's because there's a human component to the programming language and integrated development environments that we use. And the simple truth is that software developers struggle to keep up with the hardware developments. For this reason, you're also going to take a course at some point in operating systems. The operating system is often referred to as the universal translator for hardware. And you're going to see references to this in your textbook and in our course materials. Now, I'm going to pause for a second and just give everybody else a chance to queue up their mic and say hello and to ask a quick question if there are any questions. At this point, I have 10 participants, and what you don't see on your screen is a participants list. But what I do is I grab that participants list and then I do this with it. I bring up Paint and I paste it in there. Does everybody see that? Can everybody see my screen?
No, we cannot. We cannot.
Can't see my screen? Have I not been sharing my screen?
You were, but then it stopped.
Oh. Okay, that happens sometimes. How about now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, this is what I do to take attendance. Because we have so many, or we've had in the last 2 years, so many who join us by Zoom. I get the participants screen, I resize it so that it's a neat list. It's cute in that it's automatically alphabetically organized, and then I capture it. The only catch is that when we start working in the classroom physically, unless you're joining by Zoom, I may not see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save as, right? I'm going to click on this and save as, and I'm going to run to fall, so my course, and I'm going to say 1/5 August. And I don't see Aaliyah in this list, right? No, that's okay. So what I can do is go back. Now let's say that somebody is not, oh, I gotta get back in Zoom here. So Zoom gets pretty weird sometimes. And hold on, sometimes I gotta stop sharing and then pull up the participants list again. All right, so we're gonna recapture that. And what will often happen is that 10 to 15 minutes into the class session, I'll snap a screen of this, right? And I'll even update from time to time. So everybody saw me update there, right? Is that in view?
No.
No, you're not sharing anymore.
What is going on? It seems like every time I grab the screen, it stops sharing. Oh, I had to stop sharing to get my bar back, which is really weird. So every now and then Zoom acts a little funny and the pop-up bar disappears and I got to kind of massage the screen to get it going. I'm using an old ThinkPad, a Lenovo ThinkPad. It's about 10 years old. And there's a common fallacy that old hardware isn't capable hardware, and I like to demonstrate otherwise. But in any case, what I'll also do about 10 to 15 minutes into the session, every now and then I'll stop and I'll check the roster again. And I'll update the roster. And if there's somebody who isn't on the roster, I'll say, is there anyone who doesn't see their name on the roster? Is there anyone now who doesn't see their name on this roster? Okay, so let's say Mortimer Snenglefart, the name of a real person in my high school, Mortimer Engelbert Snenglefart. Yeah, real person, got picked on all the time. Let's say that Mortimer Snenglefart is in the class, but his laptop is hosed because he was doing weird things with it. And he's not there, and he says, hey, I'm here in person. What I'm gonna do is save as, right? And then I'm going to run here and here. And I'm going to always save as a JPEG, and I'll say 15 August. And I'll say M Snengle Fart. Are we still sharing the screen? Yeah. Okay. So that tells me, okay, Mortimer is in the class, right? And so that's the record I keep. Now, I don't worry about going here, and I want to show you this. I am supposed to take course attendance. And I want you to know that this is kind of a mandate. I don't do this because I like being difficult, but it's important for, I guess, financial aid reasons that, that I take attendance. And what I usually do, in a lot of classes, they do this live in class. I don't. Because I'm too busy juggling screens and I like to capture the Zoom window and I have my own way of doing this. But then at the end of the week, I go in there and I update who was present. And then I can also kind of gauge, okay, who's absent or who was tardy. So why am I sharing this with you? You may get some notices from our Center for Student Success, where if they sense that there's a lot of absences because you're not present, that they're concerned about, you know, are you going to make it? Is everything okay? Their job is to reach out to you and say something. I don't want that to be intrusive, but I do want you to understand that I answer to higher authorities, and it's I don't get a contract renewal if I don't play team ball. So they'd say you have to take attendance. I want you to understand how attendance works. Now, I will tell you this, you don't have to be physically present to receive full credit for participation. I do not grade attendance. I do grade participation. Big difference, okay? You can participate without being physically present in the room, and you can participate asynchronously. If you watch the video and then you post some things online, you're still participating. And as far as I'm concerned, you're engaged in the course. Okay, now not everybody works that way. What I'd like to do, are there any questions at this time? Okay, so what I'd like to do is just stop, and then what I'm going to do is call on each of you. And if you would, unmute your microphone. This is just a basic functionality check. And I just want to see if you can say hello to everybody else. And tell us something quick about yourself that you like. Something that you like. Like, I love pasta. Okay? So I just went first. Aaliyah. Go ahead and unmute your mic and.
Hello. So something that I like.
I'm going to reduce my audio. Go ahead.
All right. So something that I enjoy doing is singing a lot. I like to sing a lot.
Excellent. Thank you. Did everybody hear that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it Michaela? All right. Would you like to, since you're here, we'll go out of order just because Michaela's sitting here and while I have the audio down. Go ahead, Michaela.
Hi, I'm Michaela, and I like reading.
Thank you. Okay. Aiden.
Hi, good morning. I'm Aiden and I like the Golden Girls.
Oh, very cavalier. Outstanding. Thank you, Aiden. Is it Charles or Byton?
It's Python.
And Charles is your last name?
Yes.
Okay, glad I have that. If I mess it up, Byton,
Yep, that's right.
a week from now, I owe you lunch. Are you
All
over
right.
in Croy or St. Thomas?
Hey, Thomas.
St. Thomas, okay. All right, take it away, Byton. Share a like with us.
All right. My name is Python Charles. I like watching streamers.
Walking streamers,
No, watching.
watching streamers, screamers,
Streamers. Live
Stream-
streamers.
streamers. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. Thank you, Byton. Brandon.
Hello, my name's Brandon, and I like video games.
There's always one, at least one, that claims that. Thank you, Brandon. Elijah.
Hello, my name's Elijah. I like to make computers.
Excellent. We're actually going to build computers from scratch in this course. This is a hands-on course. We're going to teach you how to build the components from scratch, which is what I think is one of the coolest things about this course. Thank you for sharing that, Elijah. Khalil, take it away.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello, my name is Khalil Smith, and I like just relaxing and spending time with my friends.
Lyman. Yeah, that's something we all need more of for a quality of life. Thank you, Khalil. Michael.
Hello, my name is Michael, and I like watching film.
You like watching film. Okay. Cinema. Excellent. Yeah, I have a collection of movies, so I'm right there with you. I think there are ways to communicate and close the gap between people faster with movies. Has anyone here ever seen The 100-Foot Journey? Okay, it was launched by Oprah Winfrey and Steven Spielberg, and it's an excellent movie about closing a gap between cultures when they clash. It's amazing. It's an amazing film. And if you're a foodie, you'll love it. Anyway, thank you for sharing that, Michael. Ryan, take it away, Ryan.
Hi, my name is Ryan. I like golf and virtual reality.
Golf and virtual reality. Well,
Yeah.
we hope to have something fresh for you here in terms of virtual reality. We're going to try to use Raspberry Pis to create basic components that are capable of navigating virtual objects in given 3D space, but more on that later. Thank you for sharing that, Ryan. Shande.
Yeah, I guess something I like is listening to music.
Excellent. Yeah. Music hath charms to tame the savage beast. I think I don't know who said, maybe it was Shakespeare. I'm not sure if that's Shakespeare that said that. Something like that. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, Shande. Zidane.
Yeah, hello. My
Am I
name is
pro-
Zidane Byron.
Am I pronouncing your first name correctly? Zidane?
No, it's Zidane.
Zidane?
Zidane.
Zidane.
Yeah,
Zidane.
yes. And I love watching One Piece. It's an anime.
Okay. Yeah, I discovered a whole new, I broke relationship barriers with my two sons when I started taking up an interest in anime. Yeah. And they always shake their head when I start talking about it. Goku in particular always struck me as somebody who was kind of constipated because he always had this strained look on his face when he was angry. He's like, you know, and I always thought that dude needs more fiber in his diet or something. Anyway, that I don't want to get crass or goofy here, but Zidane.
Zidane.
Zidane. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on the pronunciation of your name, and if I get it wrong this time next week, I owe you lunch. Are you over on St. Thomas or on St. Croix?
St. Thomas.
You're over on St. Thomas. Okay. Does anybody have any questions before we take up the screen and we review our syllabus? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. And can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, so I could do this now. I'm going to do this now just to make sure, because the names I recognize are sitting right here in the room. And I'm going to save attendance, and I'm going to say David Connor is absent. Or is it possible that David Connor is sitting in the classroom physically in CAB 112? Does anyone see another student in CAB 112?
No.
Okay. Is anyone friends with David Connor, and he'll bribe you to say he's there in the class the next time no, just drop that. Okay. Joshua Warren, Joshua will work with us asynchronously. I mentioned earlier about participating asynchronously. Aliyah and Michaela are here. So there we have it. Again, you won't see this screen very often. You'll see the other screen frequently. Let's move on to our course. I'm going to pretty this up a bit, and what you're seeing is the rough skeleton. And I'm also going to email you. I'm going to check to make sure that the course syllabus is still current, even though the one that's posted is from fall 2021. I don't believe there were significant changes in our course syllabus since then. Well, one thing I want you to notice is that we try to work multi-mode in terms of content. You can click to download the PDF. Yes, everybody see that? And it's also in the screen, so you can scroll live, right? The other thing that I want you to realize is that the textbook that you need is hard copy in the bookstore already, but it's also available electronically through Amazon and through VitalSource. And I am a firm believer in electronic textbooks. But I will tell you that I also was traumatized by professors who were God's gift to the world, and they're given subject matter expertise. And in some cases, they actually wrote the book, or they knew a person who wrote the book, and they insisted on buying the hard copy of the book for the low, low price of $180. And then at the end of the semester, when I needed to buy, I don't know, ramen, so I wouldn't blow away the next wind came along. And basically, I remember selling it back to the bookstore for the high price of like $25. And over the years, I've become a sharp critic of the textbook industry. For that reason, I like to use open source, and I am trying to do something this first time. In this course, I'm going to try to create an open source textbook from the study guides. I don't know how soon or how far we can get along in that process, but I will tell you that Nissan and Schocken are both powerhouses in their respective areas. They both graduated from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and they garnered so much respect that the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, one of the leaders worldwide in hardware technology, from Cambridge, Mass, the publishers, MIT Press, took up their course materials, and they're the ones that publish the softbound textbook. You can pick these up elsewhere, but there is a second edition. And I can tell you for a fact that if you buy this textbook, not rent it, but buy it, you will refer back to it over and over again in the course of your career. The stuff that's in this textbook helps you build hardware from scratch. That means from nothing, in our case, basically nothing. All of the digital components, but it also tells you, okay, now that you have the hardware, what kind of assembly language do you need to build in order to work with the hardware components? Because you have to have a low-level hardware language, AKA assembly language, and they have chapters on assembly language. And then they say, hey, now that you have the assembly language, the low-level hardware language, exclusively for this hardware that you've designed, custom, how do you translate that into code that software developers can work with? Oh, the operating system. And then they have chapters on how to create your own operating system, which, by the way, is also called firmware. You might have heard the term firmware before. Like if you have Alexa, one of my favorite topics, Alexa. I love Alexa, especially Alexa Silver Edition. If you want a good laugh sometime and you want to laugh at my older generation, go to YouTube and queue up Alexa Silver Edition. But I digress. I told you before that I like to keep things lively and I tell stories, and if I ever get tedious or ridiculous with stories and you rather that I focus on the tech stuff, all you got to do is say, I've already told you, you have free, you have an open invitation to throw a brick and say, yeah, your story is getting along. It's getting a little long here, and is there a point to your story? And that's when I'll go, oh yeah, so the hardware piece of this is what's going to blow up your hard drive, or this is what physically ruins your memory, or your lithium-ion battery. This is how you get into big trouble with your lithium-ion battery. And don't do this at home, kids, right? So in any case, you'll notice, everybody sees the screen. I love working with online modules when we structure our course, and I wanted to give you some quick pointers about this. So the syllabus and office hours are shown in the first link. Everybody should see the first link. Does anyone not see syllabus and office hours on your screen at this time? Speak now or forever hold your peace. And by the way, we're almost done. And I am going to make a firm commitment to start on time and end on time. So the first week, everybody gets a grace period. We'll start around 8-10 minutes after the hour because everybody's getting a new rhythm and routine down. By the time we hit Labor Day, I'm going to expect to start within 5 minutes of the start of class. By the time we get to the end of September, I'm going to be starting like on the dot at 9. That's so that I can stop at 9:50 because some of you have other classes, right? Okay, faculty intro and contact. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Does everybody have access to faculty intro and contact? I give you a quick background about myself so you understand what I do and how I do. I have an advanced degree in cybersecurity, but I possess certifications. You cannot get any higher certification in cybersecurity and in systems engineering and a number of other disciplines. I include my personal cell phone number, which is a Charleston area code. So as long as you have a US dialing plan where you can call US-based area codes, you shouldn't have a problem. You can text my cell phone, and that's another way to do it. But I also have an office phone, and I will forward calls that will ring through to my mobile phone as long as that continues to work. I am going to update my email address. I have more than one email address, and I also own my own domains. Hassle-free is one of them, hasslefree.com. I'm hoping that some company will buy it from me. Maybe you have rich relatives. If you're listening in the, if you're listening in our class as a student and you have rich relatives who want to start a company and they want the concept of something that's hassle-free. It's not that I would retire tomorrow before the end of the semester. There'd be no worries if somebody paid me like $250,000 for hasslefree.com. But I keep waiting and hoping that my ship will come in. I want you to notice here, this is my schedule and it says fall 2021, but it's basically the same as fall 2022. I'll update this so it says 2022. My office hours follow the class and run until I start my intro to cyber course at 1 o'clock. And then I alternate. I want to make sure there's a morning hour and an afternoon hour on alternating days of the week so that nobody has problems working this. Any questions about contacting me or my background? Okay, Zoom and resource link, moving right along. And we do have to finish very quickly. I get this question all the time, all the time. Somebody will text me and they'll say, are we having class today? And usually the answer is, yeah. And then they'll say, okay, is there a Zoom link? I can email you a Zoom link. I can text you a Zoom link. It's always the same. It's not going to change because I own it. It does not belong to the University of the Virgin Islands. It is mine. It has my name in it. Okay? So it's always going to be there. If you click the Zoom link, it'll take you right in. Okay? But it's also a good idea to have a copy of this like on your desktop in case you can't get into Blackboard. That happens sometimes, right? I'm just saying, okay? Now, occasionally I'll post surveys and polls. You'll actually use your cell phones to do like text polls live in class. That's pretty cool. I will, from time to time, use Teams, but not right away. Let's look at modules. I want you to notice that there are 6 modules that start with binary fundamentals, then Boolean logic gates, and then composite logic gates. At that point, we will be at the midterm. You can make up any kind of work. You can turn in stuff or resubmit everything except the final exam. If you don't like your grade, you can retake module assessments as long as you reconcile your mistakes. We'll talk about that when we do our first assessment. We're not going to talk about that today. You also have just one writing assignment, only one, where you write a short summary of an article you read about computer hardware. So you go out, you look around on the shelves in the library or you browse online, you find an article about computer hardware, and it could be any topic that really interests you. It could be virtual reality headsets. It could be the latest video card in your game console, or it could be new type of memory that makes your cell phone that much more powerful because, wow, it has as much memory as your desktop, something like that, right? The point is you find something that's interesting to you, you write 1 2-paragraph page, you write 2 paragraphs, and that's it. We're not going to talk about that today, but how do you get to all that stuff? The thing I want you to understand is that when you click each module will display a header. And the header has all the information that you need. It'll tell you the main topics. It'll give you a main idea about what's going on here. And then it'll tell you the student learning outcomes that you have to be responsible for when you're finished with the module. This is what we test you on. This is what we engage. This is what you do hands-on. A lot of these learning outcomes are hands-on, right? Now, read and review. It'll tell you what you need to read. And then here's the part I want you to know. I want you to notice, okay, it all shows 2021. Please don't hold that against me. I'm going to update this with 2022 dates. But here's the part I want you to understand. The activities are designed to be completed in their listed sequence. Okay? Okay. Now, each module is worth a certain percentage of your grade. The assessment for each module is worth 5% of your grade. The hands-on activity, called a solution, is something that you do with your hands where you apply the concepts that you learn about when you read the textbook and you engage in the study guide. Does that make sense? Okay. That's worth 5% of your grade. Those two things combined, you have 6 modules, each worth 5% of your grade. So that means your module assessments are worth 30% of your grade overall. Your solutions are worth 30% of your grade overall. Your exams are worth 30% of your grade overall. 10% for the midterm, 20% for the final. We're going to keep this real simple. Where do the other 10% come from? Individual assignments and participation, right? And people have ample opportunity for additional credit. Now, I want you to notice this thing right here, reconciliation. I'm going to say this just once and then we're going to close. And then when we come up with the first assessment, I'm going to say it again. And then when we go over the items on the first assessment, I'm going to say it a third time because it never fails that someone misses this. You get a chance to do your first attempt at the module assessment when we get to activity 1.5. So the first one is an assignment. 1.1, an assignment. Then there's an article summary. We just talked about that in brief. Then there's a solution. That's the hands-on thing. In this case, it's only a 2-point solution. The assessment is 5 points. Oh, that's the other thing. I don't do weights. I don't like complicated stuff. An assessment for the module is worth 5% of your overall grade for the course. In plain terms, it's worth 5 points. Do not be deceived that 5 points is trivial. That's 5 points of your final grade average for the course. Does everyone understand what I'm saying? I need somebody over in St. Thomas to click the mic and say, okay,
Yes.
all right, yes, very good. Okay, good. This is something that I do in every one of my courses. I don't want somebody to go, oh, I got a 70 in my exam, but it's worth 20% of my grade. How do I figure out what my average is? All you're going to do is add up your points, and it's going to be points accrued divided by points possible. If you, at this point of the semester, you could have earned up to 30 points and you only earned 25, take 25 divided by 30. There's your grade, right? Now, in my opinion, that's an easier way to slice it. If you have suggestions about how to work this otherwise, I'm always open. But I find this pretty straightforward. Here's the other thing I want you to understand. When you reconcile, you get additional credit because you're correcting your mistakes. There's a very simple, practical way to do this. It's pain-free, it's quick, it's painless. And if you do it, you always log additional credit. If you come to me at the end of the semester, and I'm telling you this right now, and then I'm going to say it again and again and again during the course, and then especially right before my major exams, I'm going to say, this is your chance, right? If you come to me and you go, hey, what do I do for additional credit? Because, you know, I don't like my grade so far. I'm going to say, hey, have you been reconciling? Because that's built-in extra credit, right? You get to log additional credit when you fix your errors, and then you get to what? You get to retake the assessment. Now, here's the key. The lower assessment score is dropped. That means I zero it out. So let's say that you get a 2 on your first attempt. Everybody with me? And then as soon as I finish this explanation, I'm going to hang up and thank you for your time. And that gives you 3 minutes to get to your next class. And I'm so sorry it took a little longer, but you know, we started a little later. Any questions? Any questions before I finish this final explanation?
I have a question. It says on my class thing, did we have class on a Saturday? But I don't think that's true.
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. It's a 4-credit course. So when you do the solutions, I'm giving you time to do this at your leisure. And I consider that most people are doing it on Saturday or Sunday or after hours or whatever. And that's why the Saturday class is listed. We will never hold class on Saturday. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And I'm glad you asked that. Thank you so much. All right. So on to the explanation. Any other questions? All right. So let's say that your first attempt of the assessment, you get a 2 out of 5. What's 2 divided by 5? 40%. Not a very good score. Well, I love to give people lots of opportunities. Some of this stuff is a little strange and it takes a while to get your head wrapped around it. I like people to have as many opportunities as they want to get the grade they want, right? So you reconcile your mistakes, you take your final retake, and let's say you get a 5. You're going to see your score, your overall total drop by 2 points. Why? Because when you log the 5, it replaces the 2. I zero out the 2. I actually put a comment in your grade. And if you click on the 0 and you're like, hey, why did he post a 0? Kentop's nuts. Click the link and it'll say, this was zeroed out because you got a higher score on the retake. Congratulations. You are now ready to move on to the next module. Woohoo! Right? Everybody get what I'm saying? Okay. Actually, it's 10:59 now, and I really do need to sign off. And if any of you get in trouble with your next professor, please send me a quick email, and I will square that with them and never do it again. I'm not going to read the syllabus to you, but a lot of the things we just talked about verbally are in the syllabus. If you have any questions about the syllabus, it is very straightforward. And the link for your textbook is right there. And we just broke out how you're graded and all that kind of stuff. Welcome to CSC 241. I'm going to sign off now. We'll see you Wednesday, same time, same place. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, take care.
All right, thanks, man.
Bye-bye for now.